So you want to share a bit about your film Bag Ladies? Tell us about a little bit of the inspiration of making a film about sort of women who are obsessed with handbags.
Yeah. It kind of started out as a comedy skit. Basically, I just like the idea of like someone bumping into someone else and basically seeing something that they wanted and then pestering them until they got it, and then it kind of like evolved into this thing of like before it was just two people. I didn't even like specify what who they were or like where they were even, and then it kind of like evolved, and then I really just got in. Basically, my wife knows a lot of sort of vintage enthusiasts, so I got really into that, and I was like, oh wow, and then I like hip hop, so I started getting into like vintage hip hop clothing, and I was like, oh, this is a whole world, and then vintage shop owners, and I was like, they're weird, and so like I just was like there was just this whole world opened up to me, and I was like, oh, actually this whole story could be based in that world, and then I basically invented this fictional fashion label called Spinacci, and like I've got this whole backstory. Like if you've got the articles, the magazine articles are actually written articles, and an interview with Paolo Spinacci and Salvatore Spinacci, and so like I've got this whole backstory. Me and my editor, we invented them. We were just meant to put in photos, and then we just thought, oh, let's just write some stories. So anyway, that's essentially where the inspiration came from. Right. And then, I was able to make the film. Just so people know, like we had to completely make that shop.
Okay.
Yeah, so we found a space that you could hire for pop-ups, and then we just I have a really good production designer called Hannah Backshaw, and she basically filled the entire space up.
Wow.
And then we also filled it up partially with my parents' clothing, because it's like pretty old, and so but yeah, like we just had to make this whole store, and it convinced people so much that they were trying to come into the shop.
She did a great job.
Yeah. And I was like going, can you not see the massive lights and cameras? But yeah, there you go.
Oh, fantastic. Can I just say, Harry and I were connected via an organisation called Festival Formula, who are just absolutely brilliant at making sure that films get out there and get connected to audiences. So I just want to shout them out because they are brilliant. And I'm hoping to have Katie come and share about going into film festivals and, what to do with your film, once you've made it. So I should be using the mic. You can tell it's been a long afternoon. Livy, do you want to share a bit more about yours? Yeah.
So Pomegranate was my second year film at university, and I really wanted to challenge myself with this film and do it about a topic that I didn't really know too much about and bring awareness to it. So when I was researching, I was looking at different types of documentaries because I specialise in animated documentary. And one of the documentaries that caught my eye was Louis Theroux, Mothers on the Edge. And so from there, I was like, postnatal depression is what I want to make it about. So I got in touch with a charity called the Cedar House Group, which is in Guildford, and Liz, who's the owner, told me about how she founded the company and her own experiences with postnatal depression. And then she put me in contact with Rianne, who's a mother who used their services, and she's the narration in my film. So yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, I've tried to include lots of films from the Southeast, but having you here, being able to do it has been brilliant. We've been chatting for a couple of months, and I spotted about your film in like a local magazine that comes through the front door, and I thought, I think we need to screen them and give a shout out to our local filmmaker. So thank you for being here.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Daniel, do you want to share a bit about yours?
Yes, of course. So my delightfully sunny film, it came from a particularly vivid nightmare that I had, and I thought, this is so fun, I'm going to share it with people. But really it was that feeling of claustrophobia and encasement that's the climax of the film, that I knew, I have an ending, how am I going to work up to that And I think I was quite lucky because I knew the feeling I wanted to share with audiences. That was my North Star as I wrote for Joseph and we developed the film. And when we shot it last summer. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And we met at another event in Bristol.
Yeah.
And was that about a year ago, I think?
So,
And I thought, I started following you and then saw Ghost Story and I thought, let's do it. So it's taken us a little while, we've got there. So thank you so much for coming to Reading. I really appreciate it.
It's been such an honour to be here. I mean, I'm from Swindon, and in my mind, Reading seems very far away. It's not. It's not. So
you'll be back then?
I will be back.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I'm very glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just going to do a little bit more on this and then we're going to announce the winner. Sticking with you, Daniel, it'd be good to hear about what's been your sort of high point of making Ghost Story, and then maybe tell us about a little challenge. If you could keep it brief, if that's okay. This room is super hot. I think we probably all need to just go mingle and chill. But high point, and then maybe something that's been a challenge, whether it's Ghost Story or anything else you're navigating as a filmmaker.
All right. Well, high point is sharing it with audiences. That's just far and away the most fun when the film travels, when it meets people, because it belongs to you now. I mean, Joe and I have seen it a million times, but it's new to us through the reflected experiences of new audience members. And a dear challenge. Well, production is always a challenge because as a director you have 500 things in your head at any one time. But like some of the filmmakers have spoken about today, thinking about funding and for next films and a sort of sustainable future of, we all know what we would like to do next, I think, but thinking strategically about how we make that happen can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. But ultimately it's part of the job, so it's not, there are scarier things. It's not the worst in the world. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Do you want to share? So a bit of a high for you, because I know you're working on other projects now, but also something that's been a bit of a challenge. And I'll be interested to know if you can tell us how long it took you to make your film.
So Pomegranate took 6 months to make. It was a month in pre-production, 4 months animating, and then another month doing sound and editing. And I was doing it by myself, so it was a bit challenging. So I guess that's one of the challenges. But I think one of the high points about making these films is working with the charities and then showing them afterwards. And trying to do it justice for them is also a bit scary. So I also worked with another charity in Newbury, and it's Stroke Care for Newbury, My Sparks, because my graduation film was about stroke recovery, and it's called Strokes of Wildflowers. It's dedicated to my nan. Hey nan. I think the challenge is just making sure I do it justice for these amazing people that have gone through such tough times.
Oh, that's really great. And I think actually more people are sharing their lived experiences like that. And it's whether they do it through this medium or other mediums, I think sometimes it can bring it home. And it's, I know when I watched it, it's a short piece, but it really tells that story. So it's really lovely. But Harry, moving on to your highs and lows, obviously Bag Ladies is about something completely different to these two films. So, but your highs and then maybe a challenge of making Bag Ladies or something else. I mean, the production design is just spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the highs was actually finding, like I said, Hannah, who did the production design, Holly, who's the stylist, who's a vintage stylist, and that's a friend of my wife's, and Ruby, who was the hair and makeup, and then my DOP, Ben Halford, and that sort of heads of department there. They, it was so much about visuals and the aesthetics, trying to get that 70s aesthetics. That was once I got that team and they worked no one knew each other. I just found each of them individually, and so I was really lucky that they all worked together seamlessly. And then also our producer Diraj and co-producer Amit, and another shout out to my wife because she co-wrote it with me as well. I forgot to say that.
What's your wife's name?
Her name's Priya.
Priya.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I forgot. That's small. Small part of it.
I'm going to hold you to ransom. This
Yeah.
has been recorded.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Priya knows.
She's also the executive producer as well, so it's like
Oh, right.
make sure that I don't go off and try and do weird things. But yeah, that was. I think to me that was like the high point of it. I think the one sort of like low was essentially like I was talking about the shop. We were trying to film in a shop, and then the owner of that shop, as I said, like vintage shop owners are a little bit strange, and so he 2 days before we were about to shoot in his shop decided he wasn't going to let us shoot in his shop.
Oh, wow.
And so then we were just like, we've got everyone ready. And so we basically had to delay the filming by a month while we found another location. So I'd booked everyone. And
Nice.
luckily there was a lot of people doing things for favours. So, and we were shooting over a weekend. So I wasn't interfering with anyone's like actual work days. But yeah, that was one of the sort of low points. So, but it worked out because we got this wonderful space, and Hannah was able to fill it up and make it look amazing. But yeah, those are my highs and lows.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes when something goes a little bit wrong, that can actually give you then your win. But in that moment, when you're having to rearrange everything, find the space, rearrange for a month's time, and hope certainly your lead actors. If it's a weekend shoot, you can normally get crew. Actors might be off doing something or holidays or whatever. So I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I was very lucky.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna. Has anyone got any quick questions from the audience they want to ask about any film? Stephen?
Since you've come up with all the lore, is there going to be anything else in Spinacci Cinematic Universe?
Well, I mean, you say that, you jest about that. Why the documentary that was like the fake documentary at the start is actually like it's 5 minutes long. So I have actually done that. There's a whole scene where the actors Riccardo and Simone are like just having a full on like battle in Italian, and it's just like like being brothers and being like, oh, I want this and I want that, So like yeah, it has expanded outside of the film, and possibly maybe I might make it.
By the way, that Spinacci name, is that like a culmination of a couple of names or?
No, so I just really like spinach. It's like the kind of backstory was like I thought, what if this designer came from a really agricultural background on the east coast of Italy and then made his way to Milan? He was trying to leave behind his agricultural roots, and his family's so immersed in agriculture, their name is Spinach. So it's like this kind of thing of like, not a rags to riches, more like a vegetable to riches story. Yeah.
Do you know, I get so much joy on curating and finding films. And actually, when Katie sent me this and I watched it, I was like, that's perfect. Because to have something, alongside the stuff that is a bit more serious, we all need a bit of lightness, especially in these days. And you've gone real deep on the backstory. There's going to be. So, listen, if you could share where people can find your work and maybe tell us if you're working on anything at the moment.
You can add me on Instagram, which is _Harry Said, and then my website is harrysaid.com, and I have a web series which is on my Instagram. It's called Riding Dirty. It's about 2 delivery riders. So the first episode of that is out right now, and we're going to shoot the next couple of episodes in December. But I'm working with like 2 guys from TikTok, Zane and Tosha. So that's that.
Fantastic. I'm going to be looking out for more spinach themed films from you. Where can we find you? And what are you working on now?
So you can find me on Instagram at lseabrook_animation. My website's also on there, and I've got business cards if anyone wants any. So I've just released my other second year film on my website and on YouTube, which is called Nurture. It's about penguins. It's a little bit more light-hearted than this film. And I'm also doing some animation assistant on an NFTS grad film. So
Cool. Excellent. Brilliant. Cool. And Daniel, what What do you want now? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Daniel Granville. That's kind of it. I don't have a website yet, so I should probably work on that.
But your
and-
Insta's pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm
it's-
always like, you could just DM me. It's every day. But I am writing. Well, I've written the next short that I want to make, and I'm writing a feature film. So.
Fantastic. Thank you.